In the Wildsea, rolling dice isn't just about pass or fail. It's about seeing what weird thing happens next. You grab a handful of d6s, give them a toss, and even if you succeed, the game might just throw you a complication just to keep things spicy. Today, we're breaking down the mechanics that make Wildsea fast, collaborative, and just a little chaotic in the best way possible. Now, in our last video, we went over the basics of the setting of Wildsea, and if you didn't catch that one, you can find it right up here. Today, we're going to talk about the basic mechanics of Wildsea so that you can decide if this game would be a good fit for you and your game group. Since the Wildsea setting is all about this greenery and the verdancy that's spread all over the planet, a really neat thing here is that the GM is actually called the Firefly. Kind of fits in with the nature theme, and I love it. Wildsea operates with a D6 dice pool, and you will need a maximum of 6 D6s to play this game. Now, you don't have stats for your character. With a D6 game, you don't generally roll up stats and have a modifier. You have a pool of 6-sided dice, and how many dice your character gets to roll depends on the stats that you have. I'll put in some close-ups of the character sheet that's included in the back, and I believe you can also get one online. So instead of stats in this game, your character is going to have what's called edges. And an edge is a general area in which your character excels. There are 7 different ones, and they are grace, sharps, veils, iron, teeth, instinct, and tides. And basically, if your character has that edge, it means you get a die in the pool. Now, there are certainly other ways to add more dice to the pool that we're going to get into. But to go over those quickly, grace refers to rolls that have to do with elegance, precision, and agility. Sharps has to do with logic, wit, and planning. Veils has to do with shadows, ciphers, and secrecy. Iron has to do with force, determination, and willpower. Teeth has to do with savagery, passion, and destruction. Instinct has to do with sense, intuition, and reaction. And tides has to do with exploration, learning, and lore. I love the names that they've given these edges. They're really, really creative. And you might have multiple ones of these. And again, the Firefly might say, give me a sharps roll, and you get to actually add some more dice to the pool through some other things we'll go over. So depending on the roll, if you have that edge, that will give you an additional die in the pool. It's really cool. All right. So from there, we actually have 18 different skills that you either have a ranking of 1, 2, or 3 in. And those are right under the edges on your character sheet. If you have a 1 in that skill, you add 1 die. If you have 2, you add 2 dice. If you have 3, you get to add 3 dice to the pool. So these are the skills that you have available that you could have 1, 2, or 3 more dice added to the pool. Brace, break, concoct, cook, delve, flourish, hack, harvest, hunt, outwit, rattle, scavenge, sense, study, sway, tend, vault, and get this, wave walk. So essentially, when you say that your character wants to do something, the Firefly is going to say, give me a roll of maybe tides and a skill that you have. And maybe you have, okay, tides is for exploration, learning, and lore. Well, maybe you have tides and harvest, because maybe you're exploring to harvest some food for you guys. And you'll look at if you have tides or not, and you'd look at how many dice you have in harvest, and that would create some of your pool. It's really neat. I love it. Now, there's also languages that may give you dice instead of a skill. Maybe you have a language that's usable instead as well. And this is why you need up to 6 dice per player, because you may have a die for your edge, up to 3 more dice for your skill or language, And then you actually get to add maybe 1 or 2 more dice for any advantages you have. And this is any certain aspects or resources that you have available on your character sheet as well. And we'll go over those in a second. So you're going to get your pool of dice and you're going to roll them all. And the Firefly needs to know what your highest one was. Okay, so did you get any 6s? Did you get any 5s? Like, what's your highest out of that pool that you just rolled? And here's where the dice rolls come in. Rolling a 6 is a triumph. You succeeded at what you were trying to do. A 4 or 5 as your highest is a conflict. It's success, but with a drawback. See where all this narrative storytelling comes in? It's really cool. Rolling a 1, 2, or 3 is a disaster, which it says is a failure with a drawback or even a complication. Now, here's an interesting twist, I would say, to this, is that when you roll your pool, despite what your highest die is, if you have any doubles at all, it's called a twist. Now, a twist is an unexpected outcome in addition to the result. But get this, the person that rolled doesn't get to determine the twist. And for the most part, the DM, the Firefly, doesn't determine the twist either. The other players get together and determine what an interesting twist would be that happened in that situation. The Firefly just kind of steps in if they can't really decide, or if they need to say, that doesn't really make sense for the story, or yes, it does. But the other players at the table are collaborating to come up with a twist for that player's role. I love it. This is so cool. All right, now, what about difficulty? Things like D&D use difficulty ranges, right? Like you need to roll at least a 15 or you need to roll at least a 10 because it has this, what you're trying to do has a certain level of difficulty. Here's where the difficulty comes in Wildsea, and I'm so excited about this too. I like it a lot. I've never seen a mechanic like this. It's called a cut, okay? So the DM, depending on how difficult this task is, can either give you a cut of 1 or a cut of 2. This means after you roll, you gotta remove the highest die or the highest 2 dice and then compare the results. And I like this compared to just removing the dice ahead of time and not even rolling them. This just really adds some excitement and unpredictability to this game when you have to roll the pool first, see what you got, and then know that you have to cut the 1 or 2 top dice out maybe. Now, this doesn't always happen. It could be that there's not a level of difficulty that even requires a cut, so you get to keep all the dice you roll. But to see like a 6 come up and know that you have to cut it out and go to like the next highest die, I don't know. I just really like it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below if that sounds like a mechanic that you would really enjoy. I think it can make for a lot of laughs, a lot of fun at the table, and some really interesting situations. Now, your character is also going to have some interesting things called Mires. And Mires, it says, are vices and curses that drag your character down with role-playing based effects. So whenever you act contrary to a mire that you have, this may cause you to cut dice. You have some mires chosen during character creation, but you can gain them later in the game as well. Okay, so let me give you some examples of mires so you know what I'm talking about. The book says that every character has a set of 3 mires chosen during character creation, and they have that special 2-box track I talked about. Here's some examples. Your trigger finger itches uncontrollably. Or metal around you sparks and crackles. Or the sky is too distant, it calls to you. All right? So basically it says that your Firefly will tell you to mark a mire in response to an event that you're caught up in. Something you're forced to do against your better judgment or as a consequence of discovering or witnessing something disturbing. Here's some examples. You witness the death of a member of the undercrew, which is like the rest of the people on the ship, not your main crew. You're forced to eat or drink something beyond description to survive. You see one of the horrors of the waves. You step foot in a place not intended for visitors, a place you know doesn't want you there. So they're like weird, creepy things or disturbing things. That's something that's gonna like mess with your character's head and disturb them a little bit. And again, it says once you have one of these mires, whenever you act effect. In contrary to a mire, you may have to cut dice off of the roll. So there's those kinds of mechanical effects. It does say one of the easiest ways to remove a mark from the mire, it doesn't remove the mire completely, but remove the mark of the mire is play to one of your drives. And now this is another mechanic I thought was really cool in Wildsea is drives. And these are goals for your character. And this is basically how your character kind of levels up in a sense, although characters in Wildsea don't say they're level 1 or level 2, but it's how you advance your character is by satisfying a drive. You may clear your mire completely. You can gain milestones, or you can even gain what's called a whisper that we'll go over real quick as well. So that it's just the way these aspects are like named and how they work. It's just so different from like a D20 system or even other D6 dice pool systems I've played. It's just, I love this. It's really great. Let me know in the comments below. Have you played Wildsea and what was your experience with it? I want to know. All right. So you also as a character have resources. All right. You can have salvage, which is inorganic materials. You can have specimens, which are organic materials. But then you can also have charts, which are navigation documents that you'll use on your trip, on your ship, but you also have whispers. This is just so different. I've never seen something like this in a game. Whispers are wild secrets that leap from mind to mind as parasitic words, and they are lost or spent when they're actually spoken, okay? So they're kind of thoughts in your character's mind, but you can cause them to do things by speaking them. I did say you can use them to discover things, or you can use them to twist the narrative or to force a change. And I believe it said if you kind of mutter it under your breath, you can discover things. If you speak them out loud, you can twist the narrative, or if you shout them, you can actually force a change. So neat. Okay, so let's talk for a second about the flow of this game, right? How does this work? Because this all sounds so different than anything I've ever played. When I was reading this, I was kind of like, this all sounds amazing, but how does it actually work? What happens at the table? Okay, so the game flow. Now this is kind of similar to maybe Blades in the Dark type of thing or Powered by the Apocalypse type of thing. We have scenes, montages, and journeys. Now, scenes, most of your time in the game is going to be spent in scenes. These are the little short bursts of action where players are exploring or discovering things and just basically doing stuff. Fighting, combat takes place in scenes. When it comes to montage, they don't specifically like call it downtime, but it's very similar to your downtime in like Powered by the Apocalypse games. This is times of rest, unhurried exploration, times when your character may train in a skill or take on tasks or long actions. And then you have journeys, which is the time you spend sailing in your ship. So that's the way the game is split up into those 3 different types of flow: scenes, montages, and journeys. Now, character progress is actually marked on tracks. This is kind of the way Blades in the Dark uses clocks, but instead of being round and cut up into pie sections, it's actually little circles connected with lines to measure progress. And when certain situations occur, you'll mark the track, or the Firefly will mark a track. The Firefly may actually even be marking a hidden track that you don't even know is there. And when you get to different spots in the track, different things may happen, all right? And on the tracks that the characters mark, there's actually ways that the marks can be put in, or they can be removed, or they can even be burned, which means they're like not even part of the track anymore. It's really interesting. Now, how many segments of the track get marked at a time is also measured by impact in this game. And you can have low, normal, high, or massive impact. It's kind of similar to the way Blades in the Dark, what is it called? Position. It's kind of the way Blades in the Dark does position and effect, right? And this is the effect side of it, where you can have a greater effect, Well, this is called, in this game, it's called impact. Low, normal, high, or massive impact. So those are the basic mechanics of how the setting of Wildsea works. We still need to go over character creation options, and there's still that whole thing about your ship with the chainsaws on it. It's amazing. If we're meeting for the first time, I'm Kristen and this is Kristen's Epic Adventures. We go over all things tabletop role-playing here, whether it's rules breakdowns, tips, tricks, unboxings, and reviews. And if this is right up your alley and you'd love to see some more Wildsea content, including some other TTRPGs that I picked up at Gen Con, you're going to want to go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you know when the new videos are posted. If you're finding this video helpful, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. That really helps the algorithm push it out to more people so more friends can find us. Now you're going to want to watch one of the videos on the next screen. Go ahead and click that and I'll meet you there.